In Part 9, we talked about artificial sweeteners, the chemicals marketed as healthy sugar replacements that actually harm your microbiome and confuse your metabolism. But now we're stepping into an even darker side of the modern food system, one that most people know exists, but very few understand: glyphosate. You've probably heard debates about it. You may have seen the word Roundup. You may have seen labels claiming no GMO ingredients. You may have assumed that meant your food was safe. But what most people don't realize is this: glyphosate isn't just a weed killer. It's a patented antibiotic. It's been classified as a probable carcinogen. It's used on foods far more widely than you think. And its presence is not limited to GMO crops. So today, we're breaking down what glyphosate is, why it's in your food, even if you avoid GMOs, and how it harms your gut, your cells, and possibly your long-term health. We'll also explore why the food industry tries so hard to downplay it. This is one of the most important episodes in this series. Most people know glyphosate as a weed killer, the active ingredient in Roundup. But the real story is more complicated. Glyphosate was originally patented as a metal chelator, meaning it strips minerals, an industrial pipe cleaner, and later, an antibiotic. Yes, the same chemical sprayed on your food is legally categorized as an antibiotic. Why does that matter? Because your microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your gut, controls digestion, immunity, hormones, mood, mental clarity, detoxification, and metabolism. And glyphosate doesn't just kill weeds. It kills bacteria, meaning every time you eat foods exposed to glyphosate, you are swallowing trace amounts of an antibiotic that disrupts your gut's delicate ecosystem. This is the part nobody talks about. In 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen. Not safe, not harmless, not maybe, probable. This classification was based on animal studies showing tumor formation, DNA damage research, mechanistic studies showing oxidative stress, and observational studies in exposed humans. And remember, this is the same chemical sprayed across millions of acres of farmland. How did something with this classification become so common? The answer: money, convenience, and industrial food production. Why glyphosate is everywhere. Glyphosate is used for two main purposes. One, on GMO crops, Roundup Ready. These crops, like soy, corn, and canola, are genetically engineered to survive being drenched in glyphosate. The weeds die. The crop lives. It's easy, cheap, and efficient for farmers. Two, as a drying agent on non-GMO crops, this is the part most people don't know. Even foods labeled GMO-free can contain glyphosate because farmers spray it onto crops like wheat, oats, barley, chickpeas, lentils, beans right before harvesting to dry them faster and reduce mold. This second use, drying crops, is where huge amounts of glyphosate residue enter our food system. So even if you avoid GMOs, you are not avoiding glyphosate. This is how it ends up in breakfast cereals, instant oatmeal, granola bars, crackers, bread, baby food, pasta, plant-based snacks, protein bars, most processed foods. If it contains grains or legumes, the odds are high it contains glyphosate. The hidden danger: it's a patented antibiotic. Let's return to the antibiotic issue. Your microbiome is like an internal rainforest. Glyphosate is like a chemical fire. Studies show it can kill beneficial gut bacteria, allow harmful bacteria to overgrow, damage the gut lining, increase intestinal permeability, leaky gut, disrupt serotonin production, alter immune function. This is extremely important because 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. A compromised microbiome isn't just a digestion problem. It's everything: energy, mood, inflammation, mental clarity, and long-term disease risk. And because glyphosate doesn't immediately cause symptoms, most people have no idea their gut health is slowly being damaged. Let's talk about the cancer controversy. Officially, the WHO considers glyphosate a probable carcinogen, but the food industry aggressively denies this. Why? Billions of dollars are at stake. However, animal studies consistently show Tumors forming when glyphosate is consumed, DNA damage, oxidative stress in organs, hormone disruption, and occupational exposure studies in humans, especially among farmers, show increased risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, multiple myeloma. So when companies say there's no evidence glyphosate harms humans, what they really mean is there are no long-term human feeding studies because doing them would be unethical. The absence of evidence is not evidence of safety. Bioengineered ingredients, the new label trick. Companies know that consumers have woken up to the term GMO. So instead of labeling foods as genetically modified, they now use a softer phrase, bioengineered ingredients. This does not mean safe. It does not mean healthy. It is simply a marketing-friendly term that reduces consumer fear. But it often means the crop was genetically modified, it was sprayed with glyphosate, it contains residues, and here's the twist. Even foods without the bioengineered ingredients label may contain glyphosate because of pre-harvest spraying. This is why glyphosate is one of the most pervasive chemicals on your plate. How it sneaks into your daily life. Let's walk through a simple example. Imagine your day starts with a bowl of cereal, a granola bar, a sandwich, some crackers, maybe a plant-based snack later, then pasta or rice in the evening. That entire day may be filled with glyphosate exposure. Not because you chose it, but because the food system is saturated in it. Even organic foods are sometimes contaminated by drift, glyphosate blowing from nearby farms. This is not a small problem. It's everywhere. Why this matters? Here's what we know. Glyphosate is a patented antibiotic. It disrupts your microbiome. It has been classified as a probable carcinogen. It contaminates GMO and non-GMO crops that sneaks into thousands of processed foods. And regulatory loopholes allow it to remain widespread. This is not about fear. It's about awareness. The food system is not designed to protect you. It's designed for mass production and profit. And glyphosate is a perfect example of how something incredibly harmful can quietly enter your diet without your knowledge or consent. Now that you understand glyphosate, the herbicide hiding in your grains, your breakfast foods, your snacks, and even your GMO-free products, our next episode will reveal something just as shocking: MSG, monosodium glutamate, phosphates, and potassium bromate. 3 additives that hijack appetite, disrupt hormones, and increase cancer risk. This is where the veil over the food system truly begins to lift. Stay with me because part 11 is going to change the way you read labels forever.